This is Hunter Muse.
And this is Chris Snipes, and you are listening
to The Melt.
Well, I thank you for agreeing to sit down and chat with us. We've had this ongoing sort of dialogue about these types of topics, and it's good to get everybody's input on how everybody's got a slightly different way of going about all of this. The last person we had on to talk about it was Brandon Joe Williams.
Yeah. Yeah. Brandon, a former, if you will, student of mine, now a colleague. I remember when he came to me years ago, and he had a very pronounced email, which I get probably 200 a day, you know. And he just was like, you know, is this stuff real? He's like, can I do it? And he was like, I want to learn everything you have. And he was like, all these questions. And so, like, you know, I was like, hey, look, man, I was like, I make a lot of videos, just watch the videos. You know, so you want to do a consultation. I was like, but here's how you get started. Learn it for yourself. And then I just said, you know, put your take on it. Because that's the one beautiful thing about all this information is that it's a central, pure source of information, and make it your own. But, you know, don't put more into it than what's really there. You know,
Yeah.
A lot of people take this and they're like, oh, well, now you must worship the same God I do in order to do this, and blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of funky religions people want to attach to it. And there's a lot of funky little, you know, just odd things people want to put on it. And it's like, no, you are free once you know what it is and how to move. And you know, so share the information, but make sure that people don't think that like they have to follow your exact way. Everybody has to cut their own path, and not everybody is going to need to do all the steps that people will tell you. That's why people always ask me, what are the steps that I have to do? And I'm like, well, first it starts in your mind to understand that you're free. And here's why. And then from there, create new things to keep yourself free. But a lot of people go, well, you have to do the Form 56 first, and you have to do this first. And then you can do this one. Until you do that one, you can't do anything. And if you don't do all of it and get out of it, then you can't do this at all. That's not the truth at all. So for me, it was learning what's what. Because when I first started, there was nobody really, there was no internet, first of all. Well, at least not on the public side. Military side, there was an internet for a long time before we got our hands on it.
Yes.
But you know, so it was listening to the guys who live on the corner, you know, like the crazy old guys, they're coming for your land. They're taking your rights. And you're like, okay, bro, you're a little off. Like, I don't see anybody attacking us. Who would dare attack America? You know, and then you find out that they weren't off the mark by much at all. It's just that these people were more diabolical to understand that you don't go in and destroy the people and the infrastructure and have to start over. You just control them through the things that they use on a daily basis. You control the suppliers, control the education. That's how you do it. That's the new way of war. The old way is just, you know, they're like sitting around like, hey, you guys bored? Yeah. Who's not on our payroll? That country? Yeah. All right. Let's go mess up their things, but not too much. We don't want to have to rebuild everything. Let's just kind of, have a little skirmish, and then, we'll give them a McDonald's and, a Starbucks. Let's just start like that. Everybody good? Good? All right. Make it so. Yep. But these are the things that, like, I had to learn, just like from reading the books and The Art of War and all other jazz. But I've been doing this almost 40 years now, probably like 35.
Wow. Crazy.
I know people always kind of go, what? But like, I started learning this when I was 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was the fact that, God bless my mom's soul, I was just very inquisitive. I asked all the questions. I mean, questions on why do I even have the ability to ask a question? Why is this? And so she bought me a ton of books, some of which I still have. And it was just like, she was like, look, I don't have the answers to those things. So read these. And she thought that was going to satisfy my thirst, but it only made it worse. So, and then she wanted to keep me busy. So she was like, you want to join the Boy Scouts? So I joined the Boy Scouts. And that's where my adventure with this began, because my scoutmaster, Leonard C. Brody, he passed away. But I always noticed that he wouldn't salute the gold fringed flag that we see here and there. Most of us don't pay attention to those things. But me, I have an eye for detail. I notice everything, okay? And pretty much a photographic memory, which kind of sucks in some scenarios. But at the same time, it helps you to do this, okay?
Yes,
so
exactly.
When dealing with him in Boy Scouts, and I went on to become an Eagle, but I noticed he wouldn't salute that gold flag. And I kept asking him, I was like, what's up with the gold flag? Aren't we supposed to? He's like, and I was like, okay. So me being the little, I don't know the correct word to say. I don't know what I can say on your platform, but
you can say anything. You can say,
okay. I just want to make sure, some people are like, no. But just me being a little butt, I was like, all right, I'm the guy who pushes the envelope. I want to see, like, where does the line stop from here to there? Now we use the word trigger. So I guess I was trying to trigger him. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and salute that flag the next time I get an opportunity. If you're not going to tell me why, I'm going to do it, and I want to see how you move. So one day, we folded up the American flag, and across the way, they had the gold fringe one. Somebody had it actually improperly placed on a flagpole, because you're not supposed to put those on the outside, and they're not supposed to be on a flagpole because there's jurisdictional differences, which we can talk about later. Sure. So I was like, I ran over. I mean, I'm 9 years old, full speed. I stop in front of him like, Mr. Brody. And all I did was turn and salute the flag. And I was like, I pledge. Man, you would have thought I slept with this guy's wife. Don't salute that damn flag. I was like, just whoa. The nicest guy you'd ever meet. Never seen him that mad before or after. He lost his cool. Now, Mr. Brody was a retired guy in the military. The Army, I believe it was, if I remember correctly. Decorated, left honorable, all the good jazz. I'm like, why, if you were in the military, do you have a problem with me? Now that you're a Boy Scout leader, I think all these flags are the same. So he sat me down after, almost having a coronary, and he was just like, look, that flag does not follow Title IV of the American, what is it, the United States codes, blah, blah, blah. It's not the American flag. I was like, if it's not the American flag, whose flag is it? It's a corporate flag of the corporate United States, and there's a difference between the two. Now, I'm 9, so I'm pretty smart, but I was like, I don't understand. How can there be two different flags? What do you mean there's like two different things going on? Are they still I don't get it. So for me, that was my introduction. I just knew never to salute that flag and leave it alone in front of Mr. Brody. That's all I really got at that point in time. And so over the next 10 years, little things kept happening. I'm in school. I'm talking to my civics teacher. One of the things that they don't teach a whole lot of anymore because, well, they don't like people to know the truth, because when you go up the ladder, you find out who's really running that corporation, and they don't like to be talked about. If you ever want to know who's in control of anything, find out who you can't talk about, and you'll know exactly who's running what. That's all I'm going to say. So as a non-belligerent, non-combatant and all this, and information as educational use. My civics teacher started teaching me a little bit about what's going on, including like, the first people that come here to settle, in the first colonies were known as statesmen or state citizens. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I wonder if that has anything to do with that stuff Mr. Brody was talking about. But I couldn't put it all together. It didn't even sync. I'm just storing all this knowledge right at this point. Mm-hmm. Well, then the notable day, like Mr. Brody, was I go to the post office, and on the DS-11, which is the application for the United States of America passport, it had a curious question on page 2. It said, are you a U.S. citizen or, not and or, not check both, check one, a state citizen? My brain kicks into overdrive. Wait a minute, that's what the civics teacher was telling me. That's what I learned about the first founding fathers of the country. They were all statesmen. Mm-hmm. Is this the same thing? So my mom, having raised me to listen to people but not trust everybody, I was like, well, I'm going to ask this guy, and I just want to get an idea of what he's going to say, and then I will do my own research. So this particular guy was like, well, if you claim that you're a U.S. or a state citizen, you're basically saying that you're private and you can't vote for the president. And, well, you operate your life differently, more on the private side. I'm like, at the time, I didn't understand that. I'm like, yeah, we're all private. When I go home, I'm private, and I close my door, it's private. I didn't know what he's really telling me at the time. But then I was like, well, what about a U.S. citizen? Oh, yeah, that's everybody. Me, you, everybody, anybody can be it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So he didn't lie. And either he didn't know the whole truth or he just didn't want to tell me the whole truth. So from that point on, I went down to the library and I asked the librarian who already knew me. Like I said, I'm a big nerd. All those librarians, they all know me. They're like, hey, James. And I'm like, hey, And I'm like, I have a question for you. Like, yeah, what's up? Because they already knew that I could find pretty much anything I wanted in the library. I was helping people there, much like they were. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, 2 aisles over, 1 down, second shelf, because I everything I get my hands on, I read. So I'm like, what is a state citizen? What is living in the private? I don't. And she goes, now you're asking a really good question. And I was like, oh, okay. She sat me down and had like 10 or 12 books. Living in the private, being a state citizen, constitutional rights. She's like, you're going to need to read the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence. I said, well, I mean, we kind of scanned through those in school. I mean, nobody, what do you mean? She's like, you have to read them now with new eyes as an adult and understand the information that's in there. They're telling you this information is the supreme law of the land. There's nothing higher than it other than God's law. And running parallel with it would be like private law, trust law, contract law. Okay. But most of them, they got all the powers that be. Okay. I'll just say the state ofs. They all got their power and the ability to do what they're doing from the Constitution. So they cannot be more powerful than it. They all gave up a percentage of their sovereignty to be a part of this union. So the states only have the ability to do their own governing, but they have to have your consent. The government has to have your consent. Well, as we know now, we can get into it a little bit more later on, is that we ended up waiving our consent from under the Constitution into a membership, a PMA, a private members association that's so big it's called the public. Wait, what? I don't remember signing anything saying that I want to leave the Constitution. Who did I join? What do you? So these are the questions that she mostly was able to answer. And she said, look, you're going to need to take these books home. Like my mom, she goes, I can't answer all those questions, but they're in these books. So I took every one of those books home until I read them and mastered them until my eyes hurt. And then I turned, I don't know if I can say this now, but most of them back in.
I think you
might have
passed
some
the
overdue
statute of
fines out
limitations.
there. I don't want to give them any reason to kick in my door from the public library. I think they're all back now. Other people steal stuff. I borrow books. It's just long-term borrowing. So I read that and I was blown away. Because, see, I would hear these people talk like how I talk now. And I was like, oh, you're anti-American. You're, as the new term that has no standing in law, sovereign citizen, that they got from the Constitution, where it says citizens having a sovereign ability. But see, when you don't know what you're doing and you combine the public and the private and all these things together, you end up being in a middle area that cannot exist. You cannot, like the Bible says, you cannot serve two masters.
Mm-hmm.
You're either in one or the other. You can have both and you can be both, but not at the same time. So all of this, I'm learning all this about jurisdiction and all these things and admiralty, maritime law, blah, 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 blah. And I just have all these puzzle pieces on my floor and nobody really to help me put them together. So I'm listening to all these people, and you have to go to somebody's party. You have to casually bring it up to some people. Most people's eyes glaze over. Oh my God, I don't want to hear him talking about, hey, for the love of God, we don't know what that is. You need to go talk to Paul. Paul over here, he talks that, really? I'm going to talk to Paul. Hey, Paul, what do you know about the Constitution and Admiralty? And Paul will be like, oh, what do you know? Now we're in a dialogue on this stuff. Now I'm staying in touch with Paul. I firmly believed at first, like, you know what, Paul, I'm going to listen to you, but I believe that you might be against the Constitution. So I want to learn what you know, why you feel so strongly about this, so that next time I talk to you, I can shut you down because you are talking about my country, America. God bless it. Mm-hmm. And then something funny happened one day. I woke up and I was Paul. I had learned so much of it and understood where the power comes from, why we can do what we do. And then it also then turned into learning how they were slowly starting to hide, or legally change the name so that if you are intelligent enough to understand what you're reading, then you may use it. Because there always has to be a remedy, but they don't have to show you. There's no law that says anywhere between the federal or the state side, they have to tell you about your remedies, your freedoms, your rights, or any of that. Because if you are indeed sovereign in private or a private sector citizen or a national of the United States of America, then that's on you. Because all of them are trustees. And they don't have it written that they have to teach you about anything but the public way of living. You want to know the private? You're so smart. You're the king of your castle, the queen of your castle. You figure it out. Well, what they never expect is for the internet to kick in. Right. They never expected the internet. They never expected people to be able to do this. So they were like, fudge. How do we have to find a way to slowly encroach on that, that thing that we thought was going to just make us money and have worldwide communication. Don't really like that so much. So that's kind of how I got started. And I just knew that I had an uphill battle because as smart as I am, and the last time I checked my IQ was almost 160. So very smart. I was supposed to go into military intelligence, and I've been propositioned by many organizations, we'll just say. All right. Even in college and high school and kindergarten, I was doing things at a very advanced level. Excuse me. College, I was rewriting calculus equations, making them easier, creating a new formula to do calculus. I was redesigning electrical components by just like thought. I was so good that two of the teachers wanted to try to get me expelled because they thought I was cheating. But I'd never learned any of that stuff before. They just taught me the fundamentals, and my brain was like, oh, so basically I'm an engineer, and okay, so how can I do this differently? And just started doing this. And then I was challenging math, like some of the things, what is his name? Terrence Howard, was talking about, like just pushing the envelope. And some of my teachers were so mad. Like I wasn't trying to be a bad person or anything, but we had one argument, like he was like, well, what was it? It was dealing with ones and zeros, binary code, and because I went to school for electrical engineering technology, software development, and all that. And I was like, well, zero is a state. It's a quantity of nothing. He's like, you can't have a quantity of nothing. I said, if you have something, that's a something. But to have nothing is not nothing. It's a whole lot of just nothing. But that in itself is a state. There's nothing there. If you're broke, you're in a state of being broke. That is something. That is a measurable thing. You have nothing. Mm-hmm. So I was pushing the envelope like that. And, little things like, to me, and I know how math really goes. I've learned both ways. But if for somebody to say 1 plus 0 is 0, to me, that doesn't make sense, because if you have 1 and you're adding it with nothing, it's not absorbing the nothing. You still have 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So I was just challenging all those things. And so, but to get back to it, I digress. I was just like, I know I have an uphill battle, because who's going to believe me? Who's going to believe that this, what I thought was just here in the United States, now we find out it's worldwide. And everybody wants to go, oh, it's illegal. Those who know of what this is, most people are just oblivious to all of this in the first place. But the people here for the first time, they're like, no, that's not a thing. And then, you meet other people and like the people who do know go, yeah, it's a thing, but it's illegal and it's fraud. No, it's business. It's commerce. And the average person doesn't understand commerce. They don't understand business, which is why, and I've worked in public markets and municipalities and whatever else, and they're like, look, the public is stupid. We are here to take care of the stupid. So when they come in and ask you, oh, yeah, can I send my mail registered? Can I get number 5? They consider us stupid because they have to serve the public. And then I started learning things like, if you want to really know what's going on, talk to the manager. If he's a good person, and tell him you want to talk to him in your private, you're talking to him from your private capacity, your private citizen. Because when you walk in there, they automatically assume you're the public and you're stupid. Mm-hmm. And then you are lower than them. When you operate in the private, you are all of their bosses. Everything that's in place was put there by man and woman, humans. You can't have a law that's over you. When you created the law, you created it first. You have first rights, what they call subrogation. You were there first. So they get us to waive those rights. That's why the police officers, oh, do you waive your rights? We didn't know what they were talking about. Yeah. So that's been how I've been. And in all honesty, because I keep everything honest, I don't believe in lying. I stopped doing that when I was like 9 or 10 years old, broke my mom's heart, said I would never do it again. So I haven't. I don't believe in it. Because when you lie or you have to hide something, you're afraid of somebody. I'm not afraid of any man on this planet. You might be able to do something to me, not that I want that, nor is it welcome, but that doesn't mean I'm afraid of you. I might be afraid of what you can do to somebody else, but you're no different than me. So what? You might be stronger, a little taller, a little bit more handsome, have a little more money. Okay. But everything you can do, I can do too. So when you're in the private, you're reclaiming your birthright as a private person, as a king of your nation. And all the information and things that I've learned myself was then corroborated and expanded upon by people people may not believe this, but even on my show, I had a guy who is a part of the real Illuminati. There is a real Illuminati. It is very real. They don't call themselves that. I've been reached out to by 2 or 3 of them over the years, 2 of which I know very well. Another one was just anonymous. They like to, there's rules to these things. So some of them who have reached out to me told me some very amazing things. One guy goes, Mr. Lovett. And I was like, yes. Mind you, we had an 8-hour phone call. That's one of the longest calls I've ever been on in my entire life. He had a lot of amazing things to say. I was not trying to get off the phone anytime soon. Yeah. Come to find out, most of them don't even have a direct phone. The guy I know, he does not have a phone. Okay, so he had to make arrangements to talk to me. All right. And so we're talking. He's like, why do you keep calling yourself a black? Why do you keep calling yourself an African American? And I said, well, in my heart, I've always felt like I was not those things, but I've never seen anything else on there that I believed I could call myself. So he said, I've been watching your channel for a long time. I can tell that you're a part of, they'll say, the craft or the fraternity. Okay. Some will say the business. They use very plain words that we think they have some kind of, are you part of the Excelsior Clan 7 of the 3.1 color blue? No, they use very simple things because everybody else thinks it's going to be super, put to, wild. Very simple things when they talk about stuff. They don't make it all complicated. So I said, well, what are you trying to really tell me here? And he goes, well, were you born on a place called Black? Huh. Nope. He goes, were you born on a place where Africa and America meet? And then that land would be called Africa America? Huh. I'm intrigued. No. Where were you born? Well, North America, I guess. Wisconsin. He goes, yeah, now you're starting to get it. So if you're born in North America, you're a Native American. I said, me? I mean, I do have Native in my family, but he said, no, we're all Native Americans. I was like, he said, you may not have necessarily an indigenous tribe, but generations of your family were born here. You guys are all Native Americans. You are native to America. Huh. He said, so you were born in Wisconsin, right? I was like, yeah. Well, your nationality there, if you want to use that, would be a Wisconsinite, which is a term I've heard countless times before. Yeah, I was born here. I'm Wisconsinite. New York, New Yorker, California, Californian. Well, okay. So now that I'm processing this, and obviously we don't have time to go into all the conversation. I can't even say some of the things he told me over the air, but I was on the trails, on the path, and I said, you know what? I am going to start using that. That is, you're right. But then I also understood that sometimes if you want a certain job, like a police officer or postal worker, you have to check off U.S. citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, there must be something there. So once again, that was part of the rabbit holes you go down when you start learning this. Then, and now I'll jump back to the last part of that. I had learned so much that I was like, I was starting to put it together. The pieces were starting, a puzzle, a picture was starting to form. And so when I jumped back to what he was telling me, I said, wait a minute. That sounds all good and dandy, but I have to be able to find this in writing. If I'm going to show people, I can't be like the other people who ripped me off for thousands of dollars learning this. So anybody who's listening to this, know this. I will be 100% straight with you. Everything that you learn, if you guys come to my, channel, Bad Wolf channel or James C. Lovett on YouTube, understand this. Everything is out there for free. A lot of these gurus don't like me because essentially it's called cutting your own risk. Why would you tell them, it's free when you can make so much money? I'm not here to make so much money. I'm here to make enough that I can keep my lights on and keep studying this so that I don't have to work a normal job because I enjoy this and I'm good at it. Very good. I've beaten the courts countless times. So you're going to find that other gurus out there, and some are good, some are bad. But I like to look at it like this. When you go to somebody else, even if it's my information, vet the information. I show you guys where to find it, where to get it, how to use it. Other people want to say, here's a bit of it. Pay me, pay me, pay me. Here's a bit more. Pay me, pay me, pay me. Here's a bit more. Mm-hmm. Or they put it, they bring out the information in a negative or hostile way. The states and the government don't like hostile people. Well, they do because then you help make them money. Mm-hmm. So you should never come off as a belligerent or a combatant. This is just education. So as I'm digging deeper, to finish that part up, always understand that if someone's charging a lot of money for this information, keep looking around. You will be able to piece it all together. Mm-hmm. And if someone's not getting to the point or they're leading you on and the prices are expensive, go somewhere else. Don't be in such a hurry to take their information. A lot of people over the years, they know me. I'm very infamous in this circle because I've been doing it forever. And like I said, they don't like that I keep my prices low. They don't like that I show people where to get the information for themselves. I charge for my time and files I put together. I will be honest, I have bought in other people's files, learned information, researched it, and then put my own together. Because that's what it's all about, is you finding the information and you doing your thing. So to help shortcut the process for a lot of people, I will provide those things. Shortens the process. But there is no 1 through 20 steps that you absolutely have to do to be free. Once you understand, if you're born in Florida, that term Floridian comes from the fact that that physical ground that you can grab and touch, that's the Republic of Florida, or Florida Republic, or Florida State, which is different than the state of Florida. Those legally are two separate entities operating over the same geographical landmass. They can do that. The Boy Scouts do the same thing. Our territory is within these boundaries. The Elks Lodge, all these, everyone out there, they all have a layer, and you only resonate with that layer depending on how you depict yourself. The things that you use. When you use the zip code, you're telling them that's federal. There's no law that says you have to use a zip code. None at all. They just say, hey, if you wanted to get there faster, use our stuff. Well, if you use our stuff, you must be one of them. The 2-digit abbreviation for your state, that's copywritten by them. They own that. Americans should be using the 3-digit abbreviation for their state. Okay? That's us. That's the pride. Or writing the whole state out.
Yeah.
Florida. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to be in their area, you use, I don't even know what their zip code is, but 77210 or whatever it is. 2-digit abbreviation. Now, if you're somebody like me who operates privately, when I send my mail out referring to my address, my location, I'm not in their corporate paper world. I'm in the real world. When I look at my front lawn, I don't see any zip codes there, so it can't be a zip code. That's a man-made construct. They can only control and administer their control over that which they have created. And if you register your stuff to them, well, guess what? Register in Black Law's Dictionary, which is their law books, means to abandon some of your rights, which is what the states did to the government. And then you start getting into things like, well, okay, but the government or the seat of the United States is in the District of Columbia. Do we own the District of Columbia? We don't. It's privately owned. And if you want to rock the boat, go ahead and try to find out who owns it, because, once again, if you want to know who owns things, it's who you can't talk about. All right. Now, through history lesson, this is educational information only. Queen of England, City of London, and the Vatican, all long time ago, owned sections of that area, the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is neutral to the states, because they're a third party. So I'm learning all this. I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying there, but what else can you show me to prove that the United States is this corporation, or that the United States has more than one definition? Well, I found through reading Supreme Court rulings, which are called opinions. So a Supreme Court case, once decided, is a law. It's positive law. What you find in there then is absolutely the top of the spectrum of law. It's lawful. What these states are doing is legal. Those are two separate things. So I came across something where it said location of the debtor. I'm like, where is the United States located? Everybody would think, well, that's everywhere. We're in it right now. Is it? No. When you look up UCC 9-307, especially on Cornell Law EDU, you find out that it says location of the debtor, the United States, is in the District of Columbia. How can the United States be in the District of Columbia? Because that particular aspect is the corporation. That's the part that Leonard Brody was talking about, because it's signified by having the gold fringed flags on there. And these people deal with a lot of symbolism. Okay. Yes. It has been alluded that the gold fringe on that flag represents America, because we, America, have the gold, or had the gold.
Yes.
And then they have the one side that's not fringed, because they're infringing on our rights. Well, that represents that DC is surrounded on three sides by the land, the gold fringe, which is us, and their back is to the water. They're on the water because they operate in what's known as maritime admiralty jurisdiction, on the water rules. Now, I've traced this all the way back, and this is the part where I might lose some of your listeners or whatever else. But these rules all go back to an ancient civilization that's considered to be a myth. So people might be tuning out right now, or they might be listening in. I've traced this all the way back. And let me be honest, some people may or may not also like what I'm about to say either, but that's okay. The truth sometimes may hurt, might be uncomfortable. And if it is, then that's your trigger. And then you're not ready and mentally mature to hear what's really going on. I studied this for 40 years. Nobody's been able to beat me yet. Not even my own students, nobody. Judges, I've gone up against all of them. All right. They hear me coming. They kind of go, no, we don't want any of that. No, I'm good. But all of this started in what we refer to, whether it was actually called this or not, but Atlantis. Atlantis was the first civilization, along with the Lemurians or Mu, that had maritime or on the water rules and laws for doing trading amongst all the people. That's why so many places around the world all have the same calendar systems and these same stories of Noah and whatever else. It's all because these people were going around doing business. Mm-hmm. All right. And then from there, I went to like, what is it? The Phoenicians and the Sumerians and all those people. These are some of the people who survived after the catastrophe. People go, oh, but Wolf, where is the city of Atlantis? No one's been able to find it. The city of Atlantis is actually above land right now. It's called the Richard structure or the Eye of the Sahara. You can Google it right now, and you're going to see 3 concentric rings all matching everything that Plato talked about. And actually, Plato got that from Solon, his grandfather, and his grandfather got it from the priest in Egypt. And also talking about things I don't want you to know is that one of the ancient hidden libraries is under the Giza Plateau. These ancient Egyptians who said that there was people who came here before us. We weren't the first ones. Now they hide it. The more modern day ones hide all that information, like most of these places do. But in those days, they were like, yeah, no, there was a sea people. Well, the sea people were also known as the Hapiru, okay, or the Apiru, which were the ancient Atlanteans. It meant sea people or people without a home. It later became known as. So they were like, yeah, they were the ones who built this stuff. They were here before us. We just kind of took it over when they left or they, whatever. So in those days, Solon talked to the ancient priests and they told them, you guys are all but babies. You guys don't even remember what really happened on this planet. We're the older ones and they were the ancient ones. And in those catacombs that they had the whole history of the world. Everything that had ever been there. Supposedly it's still there, unmolested. But let's just say about 5, 6, 7 years ago when they found the Osiris shaft, mysteriously they said, oh, we found the shaft and tunnels of Osiris. And then they stopped reporting on the mysterious 2 tunnels that went further underground. And we never heard anything more about that. So. But there's lots of fascinating things. Like I said, I can talk about Atlantis forever and a day. But to get back to it, so that's where we get the words like merchant and merman, meridian. Mm-hmm. The Atlantean people also, their word was stadium, their word was stadia, which is where we get the word stadium from. Okay. So a lot of their words have still made it out and were still in being used, might have been muddied and whatever else. But anyway, long story short, so they were the first mariners. And this is merchant maritime law that they created. And then other places, some of their survivors went to Greece and Rome, before it had those official names and, interbred with those people. Some went to South America, Egypt, Asia, and all those other places and took their remaining knowledge and shared it. And one of the head priests that we know about today is known as Hermes or Thoth. He's also referred to as Ptah or Thoth in Egypt. South America is referred to as Quetzalcoatl. Mm-hmm. All right. And then in Asia, he was known as the Yellow Dragon. So all over the place where there shouldn't have been any contact, these ancient Atlanteans were sharing their laws. Now, since then, more modern, the Romans took it over, the Vatican, England, made it a thing, smoothed it out, still using the same basic stuff. And then they brought it to the District of Columbia when we allowed that to be a place to seat the government of the United States. So I'm not kind of gave a big overview, but feel free to ask questions.
Let's jump in it. That was fantastic. What I wanted to ask you is I lived in New York for 10 years and I worked at one point in the Empire State Building. And the
Okay.
Empire State Building has its own zip code. So why would that be? I have been dying to ask you this question. Why would the Empire State Building have its own zip code and its own post office within the building, in the basement of the building?
So, all right.
It's a micronation.
Yes, that's essentially what it is. When you go, okay, there's levels to this, and I'll give you both scenarios. Obviously, I can't speak 100% because I didn't see the paperwork, but there's only two usual real reasons. And they're both basically the same thing. Either whoever really owns that plot of, let me say this correctly. Somebody owns that plot of land, and they went to the government and they said, we are going to be our own micronation. We are going to be the wards of this particular location, and we want you to recognize us. So they said, okay, basically, we're going to treat you like a Native American reservation. This zip code is now jurisdictionally yours, but you are still subservient to us. You don't completely own it, but we're going to give you 99% of leeway to do whatever you want to do, operate your nation as you see fit. Okay. Or somebody else owns that land, and let me say this carefully and correctly. If certain municipalities and governments, whoever they may be, want to be able to, how shall we say, control certain things or do certain things that may or may not be able to legally be done in the United States. This is just me going on speculation at this point in time.
Okay.
The best way to do it is to say that all of these zip codes are U.S. territory, except for this one. That if it's not U.S. territory, they're aware of it because it's reported, but it's not public knowledge. So it doesn't have to go on these reports, or it's a tax-exempt zone. Now, mind you, we still own the land underneath it. They only own what's above it. But what's above it is the United States Corporation. What's below it is the United States of America, and that's private property. So there's a lot of weird things that happen right at the exact line of ownership and then underneath the land that we walk on, because then that's a whole nother jurisdiction. So you've got the land underneath it, you got where the land meets the above, and then there's the above.
Yeah,
most people don't think on these levels, but those are different things. You can own, like for instance, you buy your house, and there's a whole lot of we could talk about on that too, and you know, the deception and fraud there. So I bought my house. I mean, how much land do you think you really own underneath your hand according to your paperwork you signed?
I mean, isn't it supposed to be to the core of the earth and as far up?
Does your paperwork say that?
The sky?
No,
I think in some instances it does, but you have to own mineral rights for that to be true.
Now, then you still only own so far under there where the minerals are located.
Okay.
If I find minerals that are different underneath your plot, or minerals and I can prove that it's not connected to the oil you found, it's a different batch of oil, you don't own all that. All I have to do is slant drill underneath from my property to yours, hit that, and I can do that.
Wow.
I've read the law and seen these cases where people have done that.
Wow.
So people have a false understanding of what they think is really going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know it all by no means. I'm not a guru or anything like that. I'm just damn good at what I've learned over these years. And so I share what I have and give you guys the executive notes. That way we've got the short suite of it. And then if you want to dig deeper, here's where you find the rest. So it's always been our American thought. It's a very American thought of you.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't own that. Matter of fact, you don't even own your house right now. You think you own your house? Go get your paperwork out right now. Bet you $1,000 it says you are the tenant.
Yeah.
And you don't own anything until it's paid off. You don't have the statements or anything from it. Doesn't. You haven't accepted your house down at the county. You don't have the final title from the bank. You don't own your house. It even says on their tenant. You're renting it. But you have the trustee rights to operate it. You have beneficial rights to dispose it, if you will. But you don't own it. That's cute. It's cute. You thought you owned it. See, if you want to own it, even to start with, you have to have one of these. This is a land patent.
Mm-hmm.
This was issued from when the Native Americans ceded the land to the government. We'll leave that one alone for now. And then the government ceded the land to the states and said, you know what? Now you guys own that land and you can disperse of it as it is. Most of it is public. Some of it is private and some of it is never to be touched and private reserve. But here you go. That's a land patent. The Bureau of Land Management can sell you one of these for $2 or $3, and it gives you ownership now of the land forever, tax exempt from the land to the center of the earth in outer space. Most people have never even heard of a land patent. It costs you $2, and you can get a certified copy with the raised seal and everything on the back. You don't have these. They convert. See, when they issued these, people eventually lost them. And then the state, because the states are our friends, decided to go, well, hey, instead of running over to them, the government, and getting one of those sticky old pea-colored dumb head documents, how about we just make you a certificate of title? There's a lot of things going on there. Oh, Wolf, you're just talking about semantics and whatever else. No, it's because you don't understand, so you feel some type of way. I can beat you with laws and proof. You can thrash me with your emotions, but that doesn't hold up in a court of law. See, the word certification means they're making something formal. Okay. The word of is a conjunction, meaning you're not getting the real thing. So if this is a certification of the title, if it's a real title, wouldn't it be just labeled title? So, but it's a certificate of title, which means you're not getting the real thing. So they gave you something that works really well in their jurisdiction, but not in America. Welcome to the U.S. corporation. Welcome to being on paper. Welcome to your things being numbered. Welcome to them having control over your land. Welcome to you now doing business their way, because you don't know how to do business the American way. You don't know how to do commerce in private. Barely know how to do it in public. That's being generous. When you go to the hospital, and this is where, if you will, the fuckery began for most people. Your parents birthed you, a living human being, a living soul. Had you at the hospital in most cases. Some people have it at home. But traditionally, we'll just stick to this part for now. So the hospital said, hey, you need to fill out these documents. Baby's born. And then they offered you, before you even had a chance to do anything, they grabbed your little baby foot and went pop, pop on a document. Now they just scan it. And our dumbasses never even asked why or what happened. What are you doing that for? Oh, if you want to make people mad at the hospital, and I do this all the time. I've had hundreds, almost probably 1,000 women. Wolf, I'm learning this, and I want to learn about a private birth, and can I, and I tell them, well, okay, but this is what you're in for. I have to sit you down and prepare you for all the ins and outs. You want to piss them off? Tell them, due to my religious belief, you cannot stamp the foot of my baby. Oh, you're about to see some people get medieval. But here's the thing. Later on, if you ask them for that document, which you are entitled to, they're going to say, well, that's $150, $200, $300 for one document. I thought you said that. What? It should be mine. That's my child's print on there. Oh, yeah, but this is a heirloom document. Okay, so then give it to me. They're not going to give it to you. As a matter of fact, they won't even add that bill for that document onto your hospital bill. That's a separate thing. Now, from my perspective, to me, that seems like it's part of the ruse. There's something there we don't know about, and that seems sketchy. So let's go on. What eventually happens is the lady comes back in there and says, oh, you need to fill out some more documents. So you do. The lady is all distraught on drugs and doped up. She just, pregnancy is an MFer. Okay. She's not in the right mind to sign anything legally. The guy is like, I just seen my lady's naughty bits doing some things I never thought he could do. And a little kid creature of me. Whoa. So he's not in a position to, but that's when they get you. Because then she runs in, oh, you need to sign this. And we're just like, yeah, okay, let me just, and we don't read anything. We go into protective mode. We go into survival, instinctual mode. We're not in our logical minds. So then what happens is she comes back in and says, oh, here's your certificate of live birth. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened to if you're even paying attention, what happened to the heirloom one? Oh, you don't really need that. Wait a minute. Now you're telling me that that's not a needed document, but you would charge me for it. You took my kid's print on there instantly without my say so. You legally assaulted my child without, that heirloom one is the master document when your divine body and soul touch the ground, the real America. Just like the real American flag is on a real American flagpole bolted to the real geographical or continental United States of America. The other one, you will never see on a flagpole outside. It's only inside where the corporate U.S. is. It's always on a movable post or on a movable person. It's on their badges with the gold fringe on it, representing, some light bulbs are going on right now. That's interesting. So they secrete the heirloom one and it just goes somewhere. Now, educationally speaking, hypothetically, some people have said it makes its way to the Vatican because the Vatican apparently from these people, I can't prove this part. This is speculation completely. They want to be able to say, well, look at all the souls I've brought to you, Lord, because what part of your body did they take that print from?
Your soul.
The sole of your feet. They're playing for souls. That's what I was taught. Can't prove it. Interesting thought, though. We don't know. They keep it for, they say, 10 years and then it disappears. They destroy them, they say. Like they do with all of our master documents. We'll get to that in about 2 more seconds. So they then offer you a certification of that live birth document. So we know it's not the real thing because 1, the word of is in there. And 2, it has the word live birth. So it's a certification of the live birth, which means the real document should then be called just the live birth or the heirloom document. But then here's where the magic happens. She comes in a little while later and, oh, beautiful boy, beautiful daughter. Oh my God, so beautiful and precious. By the way, the state of, enter your state here. Florida, California, Wisconsin, Rhode Island says that you must register your child to the state. Well, we know that's a lie because that would be slavery. Slavery's been outlawed. You can't force somebody to register their child, their property. That's slavery. Maybe over in the UK, everybody over there is born property. Not here. So what's going on here? Please break this down. What they're doing is they're bringing you in, and I won't get into all the aspects of it, but we'll just say this. This is where you become a resident of the state and a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, which is different than a Native American in the private, or a national of the United States, or a private citizen. Okay, Wolf, but prove it to me. Show me something, man. Show me. When they have you apply for that birth certificate, wait a minute, you said birth certificate. Weren't the other ones called heirloom and certificate? Congress said, look, we know you're going to be kind of deceiving people. So if you're going to do these things, you have to change the name. So they reversed it, and now they call it a birth certificate. And there's no word live in there because they didn't birth a real you. They birthed what's known as a legal person.
Mm-hmm.
That's why your name is in all capitalized letters. Because it's not actually you. It's a mask or a shield. It's a suit of armor that can contain your soul and other things. See, they can't have jurisdiction directly over you because you're a living being. So they made you a member of their private members association. This membership is so big, because all the states are in it on the corporate side, that they made you a member, but that membership itself is then called the public. They administer governance over the public who are operating in the maritime admiralty jurisdiction, not America. Those are two separate things. They can't control the private. You will never, God help me, read anything that says by the police, the judge, the whoever, that they administer and have control over anything private. They always say public administration, public this, public U.S. citizens. So there's a jurisdictional line. When you're operating under the Constitution, you're an American in the private. But when you use their stuff, you use that mask, your name in all capitalized letters, which is a legal person. So found in Black Law's dictionary under capitis demutio maxima, which is Latin. Capitis, to capitalize, meaning to raise taller. It's a double entendre, meaning it has two meanings. The other capitalize is to make money on. So to capital and to capital. Your name, it's been capitalized and they're making money off of you. Demutio is to diminish, and maximum or maxima is maximum. So by raising the letter of your name, we're making money on you and diminishing to the maximum your rights and freedoms when you use this all capitalized name. But Wolf, is there more? Sure, I'm glad you asked. Well, in the UCC, which all the states are party to, in the definition section under, I think it's letter H, if I remember. I think it's letter H, but anyway, it's UCC 1-201 definitions, and it's under conspicuous format. Conspicuous format means that anything that's not natural, which means your name in all lowercase lettering, is the natural given name version of you. But when you allow them to raise it, even one letter, or all the letters, even more so, you're in capitis demutio maxima. Upper and lowercase is capitis medius, meaning some loss of your rights. Capitis minimus, no loss of rights and family name. You're in your natural standing. See, some people use it standing and status interchangeably, but standing is for a man or a woman because we are real and we stand. A status is of a dead entity or thing. Nurse, what is the status of the patient? Oh, he dead. Yeah, he did. His status is dead. She's not. What is the standing of him? Oh, he ain't standing. His status is dead. Okay. So they have their own dictionary where they use the same words as we do, but they have a different meaning in their books. Look up the word drive in one of the Black Law's dictionary from, like Black's Law dictionary, like number 4, 5, 6 edition, or even 11. And then look up driving in Webster's dictionary. We think drive means you just get in the car and go. Driving means you're operating your car for profit in commerce legally. And because they use that, they are bound by that because this is all commercial activity, commercial transactions, business in the public.
So when I graduated,
I being around other wealthy people, how these things move. And one of the last parts, I'm going to get to the next question, is that what they also do to us, and we've all been party to this, is at one point in time when we were private, we didn't know we were private. And we wanted to get a driver's license or a bank account. And what is that famous thing they ask us all the time everywhere we go? Well, before you want this, or we can do this, you must prove residency. The word residency in their book means to reside and enter. You are a residant. You resided and enter. Well, what did I reside and enter from? You recited from America, the private, and the Constitution to the state's Constitution. You change sides in that moment. And as long as you use their stuff and do business their way with their numbers, because numbers don't exist in the real America. They numbered your land, they numbered your kid, they numbered you, they numbered your house, they numbered all those things. Well, they own the numbers. You're using their codes. So they told you you need to reside and enter our jurisdiction. You get the ability, and it's provable by law, I know the code off the top of my head, to choose whether you want to be a U.S. citizen or a national at any point in time. So that code is 8 USC 1101-22B. You can look at A and B, but I like to use B for me personally. But 8 USC 1101-22A says that all U.S. citizens are U.S. nationals. There it is in federal law. It goes on to say, but not all U.S. nationals are U.S. citizens, because you had to be born a national for them to bring you in. But you can elect not to be a citizen. But you will always be a national unless you decide you really just want to be like, nope, screw everybody, I'm doing my own thing. So
yeah.
when
I graduated from college recently, I asked them to, when they give me my diploma, my name will be in all lowercase letters.
And they probably didn't do that.
No, they did.
Oh, they did? Okay. Surprised.
Yeah. I actually had to ask specifically, and then there were email exchanges back and forth between the university and I, like, are you sure this is what you want? So every fraternal organization that I've joined, I'm in like the honor society at my university. I did that with everything. So everything that has my name attached to it from the university is in lowercase.
So
Did I do the right
good.
thing?
they because they themselves are not completely owned. They are a private institution that is open to the public. So they're in the upper and lower case scenario. They're like capitis medius. They're not completely a governmental entity. But they're so used to operating with the government and the state, who operates in that all caps, they always just do that. They go, oh, well, it's just more legible to see. Mind you, the federal government is not operating under the UCC. Federal government is operating under the Constitution. They have to. They can't join the UCC and be underneath it, because that's not American. So to preserve our rights, they just use the all caps on the federal level because, from their words in the GPO Styles manual, it is just to see it better. And by law, that's what we have to go by. But if you look up in Google or whatever, search, are the 50 states under the UCC? And it will say yes. And the UCC is commercial. And in there, when you're doing commerce, it has to be in conspicuous format so that they know that there's something different here. Your name, when referencing that name itself is, once again, a legal person or a legal entity, separate and distinct from you. You can literally look it up. That's what it says. So what you basically did is you said that you, the living person, achieved this, not what's slang term or commonly called your straw man. They call it your straw. That's what a lot of people call it. Really what it is, in Latin, it's nom de guerre, which means your war name, because they're essentially waging war on you, doing commerce and business. You don't know that. But officially, it's known as a public transmitting utility. It's the proper name for it. So amongst ourselves, we just straw man. But legally, it's called a public transmitting utility because it operates in the public, it transmits, and it's a utility. It's a mask. It's a utility knife. Multifunction, use it for doing business in there. It's like, if you're an angel, you can't just walk your happy ass into hell and say, hey, what's going on, my fellow demons? They're like, you don't get your fluffy, beautiful ass out of here. So you got to put on the demon suit and open the door and be like, hello, my fellow fire-breathing comrades. And they, oh, hey, what's up, demon? Yeah, what's up? Whoa, gang handshakes and everything. Come on in. So that's what they've done with us. If you want to do business in hell, you have to put on the hell mask. You want to go to one of the secret celebrity parties, you have to wear all white or wear the mask or the, whatever else. That's a whole nother story we'll leave alone for now. But, yeah, that's what they did. So it's no different than if you go to see, because the corporation itself is becoming so big, and it's not just here, they're doing this worldwide. You can go to Australia right now with your social security number, still be pegged as a U.S. citizen and pay taxes. That's how big it is. They're doing this everywhere. They're elevating everything from the real land because they don't want to take over the land. Well, they want the land, but they're going to do a corporate takeover. They're not going to do a physical ground takeover. Especially with people who are now their allies. Why go down there and mess it up? We're cool, right? Let's just do business. You guys look like you guys are in need of some freedom and some Starbucks.
Exactly.
So you can go anywhere and use that. Some countries where we're not allies, it's odd that we happen to have skirmishes there, or we end up there, or we go to war with them, or we help them out, or whatever it is. Bet you you'll be able to use your Social Security there at some point in time in the future. Not going to mention any names.